Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Matters of the Heart and Soul podcast. My name is Janie Charlo, one of your hosts, and welcome to a new episode. So I am excited today. We have Miss Maria Holmstrom. She is joining us all the way from Sweden today, and she is about 6 hours behind me here in Atlanta. So we've had to kind of coordinate our times. So, welcome to the podcast, Maria.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here.
Yes, I'm excited to have this podcast with you. Today, we're going to be talking all about emotions and how we maybe have abandoned our emotions, how we can come back to emotions. Definitely, we're going to talk about my favorite, the heart chakra, unconditional love, and how right now, as a whole body of humanity, is so important for us to start tapping into that for healing on so many levels. And Maria, introduce yourself and tell everyone what you're doing in that area right now.
Yeah, so my name is Maria Holmström, and as heard, I live in Sweden, and I'm a healer, and I focus on the heart chakra and opening the heart. When I say the heart, I really mean like to clear all energetic blockages from the heart, to sort of connect to your authentic self, so that you can experience self-love, that you can experience love for others, and to have this fantastic joy and compassion and forgiveness in your life. So that is a little bit of what I am doing mostly.
That's awesome. You know, Maria, I've been speaking on this for a while, and sometimes I feel like people look at me like, I didn't have that experience, right? So I'm not sure what you're talking about. So
Mm.
tell us your journey, because I think it is about experiencing that opening of the heart chakra energetically and what it really means. So tell
Mm.
us what your journey, how did you get here?
Yeah, so I started my journey because I had a life of back issues. And I did a lot of different things before actually starting healing. I was working on postural training to improve my posture because I wanted to get a better back posture. And I was also working on body awareness and the breath. Um, but with the back, I needed something more. So then I started doing healings and sort of connecting to who am I? And I realized that there was so much going on, that I didn't really know who I was. I had a
Mhm.
period in my life some 5, 6 years ago where I felt really miserable, basically. I was really sad, I was depressed, I felt lonely, I didn't really want to live anymore. But doing this spiritual work has really helped me with that, because now it is so amazing and there is so much joy and love in my heart. And I back then I did not love myself, not the least bit. But now I do, and it's amazing. And it's like you can't really understand how much your life will actually change when you are there, when it's darkness, when you have these huge walls around yourself and you are just lonely. But then you connect to your heart and you realize that you are not alone, and the world is out there and people are friendly and want to connect to you. But I couldn't see that back then, the things that I see today.
Yeah.
So that
Do
is
you,
really, yeah, benefits of opening the heart.
yeah, do you believe your back pain was the physical manifestation because of everything you were going through mentally and emotionally, and that all manifested as a physical ailment in your back pain?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I must say that this period that I had where I felt really miserable, that was not maybe the start of it, because growing up, I never really got to learn how to deal with strong negative emotions, but it was more like, don't pretend it's there. So we just sort of pushed it down and didn't really talk about it, care about it, take care of it, but I was just pretending it wasn't there. So I guess that was basically a lifetime of emotions just stacking up in my body and getting stored there instead of feeling them and releasing them, which I do now. So there was so much energy going through my body that was stuck, and I think that was definitely a big part of my back issues, for
Yeah.
sure.
So you were okay with experiencing positive emotions. Like as long as life was
Yeah,
good, you were fine with that. But
absolutely.
you had a hard time dealing with, would you say, just stress of life, or when things went bad, or when you planned something and it didn't go that way? What exactly would you describe as the strong negative emotions?
Well, when I was feeling, yeah, stressed out, when I was really sad, when I was angry, when I was upset by anything. So it was more like when I was alone, it was sort of okay, but to express that together with someone else, it's like, no, I can't do it. I basically would run away instead of just like talking through it or something. I would run away physically. I'd really run away. Or if that wasn't like socially acceptable, then I will just basically crawl into my hut, my big walls around me, and I will just close off everything and just sit there numb and like pretend that everything was fine. And yes, we will do, So pretending that I was dealing with it, but really I was just closing myself off very much.
Wow. And had you not seen or an example of anyone dealing with strong negative emotions just in your environment, or was it, I guess, not safe to speak about it? What made you just run or just rather turn the other way? Was there something? Because as a kid, I'm just
Mhm.
trying to understand, like, was it just not safe to do? Was it taught not to do? Where do you think it stemmed
Mhm.
from on a very deep level?
Yeah, I think it was more that I was taught not to do it. Of course, when I was a kid, everyone is screaming and crying and releasing. That's
Yeah,
normal. But just growing
yeah,
up, um, so it's part family and part society, I would say, because in society we sort of learn to disconnect from ourselves. When we grow up, it's normal for kids to cry and release, but when we grow up, we get to hear this: don't do that, don't do this, big girls don't cry. And when we go to school, you have to behave a certain way. So everything is sort of taught that you need to be this person, and if you're not, adjust.
yeah,
So we sort of learn that we need to be someone that we aren't, and maybe we don't even love that person. So it's so easy to disconnect in our society because we're not really allowed to be who we are. So I think that's the combination. I didn't really have the good role model, like how to do it, but also the societal rules saying that be like this. And when you're in school and you're getting a bit older, well, that's not okay to cry, sort of, screaming or whatever. The older you get, the more you should behave and don't, do anything like dramatic or anything like that. Don't cause a scene. So I
yeah.
think that was a combination that just I was a good student, and I learned, and I couldn't handle it. So I was just, yeah, pushing away, and then not seeing it in my family, how to deal with it. We just pushed it away. And that's how I ended up stacking all these emotions in my body.
Yeah, and it's we're programmed. I mean, we are born into families and cultures and societies, and we're programmed that we have to be and do a certain way. So, was there a like a defining moment that you said, "Okay, I have to do more for this back pain. I have to figure this out." What could you talk about that a little bit? Like, what was the defining moment that was like, okay, have to do something more? I've seen, maybe general practitioners or doctors, and there has to be something more going on here.
Mm. Yeah. So I mentioned that I was doing postural training, and this guy, he was really good actually because he took quite a holistic approach to the body. So he was really saying that if we're not seeing any kind of results within a couple of weeks with the exercises that we did, there was something more to it. Then either
Okay.
diet or emotional problems or energetic or whatever.
Okay. So
Um,
like
so
originally you thought it could be maybe posture. It could be how you were sitting or
yeah,
standing or holding your body in a certain way.
exactly.
Okay, got it.
But I was training, and oh my God, I was training, and I got a lot better in my body. There were a lot of things that actually got a lot better, uh, but I didn't come all the way. And then I realized, okay, there must be some kind of issue there, like energetic maybe.
Mhm.
So we were taught a technique to release emotions, and I started releasing, well, my heart wall basically, because what the heart wall is, that is a lot of stuck emotions that you put around your heart, and you sort of think that is protecting you to, all the heartache that is out there, but what it really does is to disconnect you. And if you really want to be protected, well, you will always feel things, but an open heart will actually be the answer, not really closing it. But anyway, I released this heart wall of mine, and I didn't really feel that much at that point, more than like, yay, cool, now it's gone. Woo! But then a
Mhm.
couple of weeks later, I was at work, and there was my boss. She was really stressed out about something, and she, when she got stressed, I usually just woof, got up with her stress, and I was like
Good
really
stress.
freaking out.
Yeah.
But I just realized, I said to her calmly, like, okay, but then we will do it in this way instead, whatever the problem was. I don't even remember that. And then it was like, in my mind, I was like, what happened here? Why am I not stressed? So I
Mm.
realized that with that heart wall, there was so much stress that was just gone. And that
Wow.
is, of course, also, I didn't know it at that time, of course, because I wasn't really so much into energy. And afterwards, I realized that was a bit of a heart opening, of course.
Mhm.
So I continued there, and I also did, more postural training. But then I got herniated discs, and I tried a bit more with the training and realized this isn't working. That, I have to do something else. And I was like, maybe healing. And I was a bit reluctant because I wasn't really believing in it. I'm a
Mhm.
scientist, so I'm sort of like, yeah, I have to have it in paper and proof and everything.
Yep.
Um, but okay, so anyway, I signed up for a healing. And the thing is, I had a horse, or I have a horse, and she had been lame for a year. Veterinary treatments would not work. No alternative treatments would work. But the day after I had gotten my group healing, she was fine. And I was like, oh my God, this can't be true. And I was really like, a few weeks after, even thinking, she's going to go bad again soon. But she didn't, and she's fine. And
Wow.
then I was convinced basically that there must be something more to healing. Wow, I need to learn this. So I signed up and realized, of course, there is even more to opening your heart than I had experienced already. I actually had a spiritual gift activation, and the day after, I was in my couch, and there was just waves of unconditional love just rolling through my body, and I was laughing, I was crying, I was just so happy. And my only concern basically in the world was, how can I spread this to people? Because it is so amazing. Everyone should have that experience, feeling unconditional love. So I think those were the moments, really, like the release of the heart wall, and then, having my horse heal, and that heart opening again.
Yeah.
There was a lot of moments that really led me to my own heart, because every part of this journey has really led me to my own heart, to connect to myself, to find my inner authentic self, my heart. So yeah, that's really amazing.
I love it. And I understand that it is about the experience. It's
Yeah.
like you and I, we could speak on this from our own experience to the world. But
Mm.
until each person have their own experience, I think that is what makes you a true believer.
Yeah.
That is what makes you, wow, there's something greater than me that's out there. And then it'll take you down a whole nother rabbit hole because then you're looking for the information on what just happened to me. So was your horse, you said laying, like not standing for almost a year? Was that right?
Yeah, I mean, she could stand on the leg, but it was really swollen, so she couldn't be trained, and she was in pain. Yeah, and
Wow.
I just couldn't believe it. It was like, even like, the day after, it's like, okay, it's gonna be the same tomorrow, and it
Yeah.
wasn't. And then, like, just going like, no, it's gonna be the same. It's gonna be the same, and then no. So, and
Wow.
I didn't even have any intention of healing her, because I didn't even know that was a possibility, but it
Yeah.
happened. And
And that's an amazing example of emotions, energy in motion, in that you can transfer and radiate these healing energies onto other people.
yeah,
That's what it's all about, because we're a conduit. I believe we're conduits. We are holding these healing energies, and you get spiritually activated, and you can help other people heal. I love it.
yeah.
So, how do you define unconditional love right now compared to what you thought before in the past? You had all this wave of energy coming into your body. Where do you think it came from? Like, what is it to you? What is that whole experience? How do you define that for yourself right now?
I would say it's God or divine energy. It
Mhm,
is, yeah, and I don't think you even can exactly define it, but you have to really experience it. But it is just pure bliss, I would say.
mhm,
Like, such gratitude that you are experiencing bliss and love for the world, because you feel love for everyone,
mhm,
everyone. It's like there is not a soul on this earth that is not worth love, and you are just so connected to everything. You're connected to the earth and to everyone living in this earth. So it's yeah, pure bliss. Amazing.
yeah, yeah, it definitely is. Um, and how do you feel now? Because it's such a stark contrast as a scientist, as a researcher, as I need to see it in the physical to believe it.
Yes.
Would you say your your beliefs have now transformed? You're still a little bit unsure. Where are you now?
Oh, I'm a believer right now. Yeah. I have experienced so many things that I definitely believe there is a greater force than what we have here. I mean, I grew up in Sweden, obviously. And Sweden is quite a secularized country, so it's not big with religion and God here. I mean, some people go to church for sure, but most people don't. So
Mhm,
having like a belief in some kind is it's not everyone that has it, and it's not really in my environment that people are believing in things. Um, but for me, having experienced all these things, like when you have this rush of energy going through you, it's like there is something more. And I think it is God, but I don't define God as a man sitting in the cloud looking down on us, but more that divine energy that we are all part of, that we all have, and that we can all access. So I think more that is what God is. That
mhm,
God is within us all, basically.
yeah. How do you feel regarding religion, as far as organized religion, in which you experienced?
Mm. Yeah. Like I said, it's not a big thing in Sweden. So of course, I mean, I went to church and everything when I was a kid. But for me, I think I'm not really religious in the sense of the big religions of the world, but I'm very spiritual. And I think for me, it's more like the religion is within me, if I say so. So maybe not religion, but spiritual
Mhm,
beings. But we are very spiritual. We are connected to everything, but I'm not really, I don't have the urge to go to a church to express that. But I also feel that religion and churches and mosques, or whatever kind of housing that you go to, I think that is a great comfort for a lot of people. And if you are feeling good about going there, then you should absolutely do that. definitely.
Hmm. So, what are some signs? Because you said you were cut off in a way, in an effort to protect your heart. You were really cutting yourself off from love and unconditional
Yeah.
love and divine love. So, what are some symptoms and signs that people that are listening can do a self assessment? Hey, I might be cutting myself off.
Mm. Yeah. So, I mean, the heart chakra that is associated with self-love, with love for others, with joy, compassion, and forgiveness. And that is like the open heart. But if you have a closed heart, it's more depression, anxiety, fear, disconnection, so that you really can't connect to people at all. And of course, not loving yourself. Those are the signs. And it doesn't have to be like drastic, like you hate everyone or you hate yourself. But if you're not really feeling that love for yourself, then that is a sign that there is some blockage there that can be worked upon.
Hmm. And what about
And I would
people?
say stress also, a lot of stress, because
Hmm.
people are very stressed out. And that is also a sign of a closer heart.
Hmm. Maria, how do you open your heart? Would you say there's a process of surrender?
Absolutely, for sure. Um, I think there are a lot of different ways of doing it, and that you should find a way that is fitting your situation. So, I mean, having the background I have, you can work with physical exercises like stretching the chest. So if you do like back bends, that can be like a physical thing for opening your heart. You can work with your breath. Like for me, for example, I had like I said, I was really afraid of negative emotions. And when I started to become a breath coach, I challenged myself, like, okay, now I have to breathe through my emotions. This is like it's gonna happen. So I did that, and I failed, and I failed, and I failed, and I failed. But then all of a sudden, I actually managed,
Did it
and
feel
I
like
was
you
just,
could not breathe at the moment? Like if you were experiencing sadness and you tried to breathe through that, was it feeling like you could not catch your breath? What did it feel like?
yeah, it was a little bit like it was hard to breathe, but mostly I would say that the emotion was so overwhelming that I couldn't stay in it. It was too much. It was like I can't stay in all this sadness or all this anxiety. It's like just running away and just trying to, get rid of it in that sense. Um, but when I actually could sit there, and I was really like, come on, emotions, give me all that you have. And then
Yeah.
and when I was sitting there afterwards, and I realized, okay, yeah, I did it. And like, how silly. Oh my
Yeah.
God, that is so silly. But how can I have been afraid of this a whole lifetime? It took maybe maximum 15 minutes. And I
Wow.
felt so silly, like, oh my, I should have done this years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, breath is really good if you want to open your heart. And of course, healing. I mean, healing, I would say, is the fastest way to open your heart.
Mhm.
But of course, when you have gotten a healing and you have opened your heart, then you don't want to close it again. But then it could be time maybe to work on your mental thoughts or your emotional problems. Like think think like, how can we change the way we think so that we're not collecting all this negative energy again to close it off. So that could be more like of a coaching session, like how can we find the root of our problem. So that is also a way of working with the heart chakra. And I mean, also, just as I said, like when we were kids, we loved ourselves. Everything revolved around us, and life was great. And what did we do when we were kids? We did the things we loved. So maybe just connecting to the things we did as kids that we loved, like it could be running barefoot in the grass, it could be dancing, it could be petting animals, it could be drawing or whatever. So just kind of finding that passion that you had, or if you have a new passion as an adult, of course, just doing the things you love. um, and meditation, I mean, you could just if you close your eyes and you breathe and then you cross your hands over your heart and you sort of just go down and connect to your heart and just stay there for a while. That is also a really good exercise to open your heart. So there
Yeah.
are really different ways depending on who you are and what fits your situation as it is. Because I mean, I would not have been working with my emotions before I, having breathed it out, because I would have said, no way, not going that, not going that rabbit hole. Nope. But
Mhm.
physical, that was fine, because I mean, I wasn't even really aware of how everything is connected when I started as a postural trainer. But so I was thinking, physical exercise, hell yeah. But if someone would have told me that I'd be working on my emotional problems on that postural training course, I was like, "Oh, I'm not signing up, I think." But I didn't know,
Yeah.
and I went, and I trusted him. I trusted the coach because we had been working for some time then, and I'm like, I'm doing it, yes. And it was a lot of release, and I was like happy.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I just love, because I could definitely hear the joy and the peace in your energy now, and I'm sure that was so much different than where you were before.
Yeah,
Definitely. In a world, right, that when we look out, it's very unloving. There's so much going on right now, and it's been very heavy in energy, I would say, since about 2019, 2020. Um, how do you maintain your heart's vibration? How do you maintain your vibration of unconditional love?
yeah. I think every morning and every night I practice gratitude. So gratitude is also one of the emotions associated with the heart chakra. And just by having this feeling of gratitude. So I'm not doing like now I'm gonna write 3 things that I'm grateful for every day. So, and that is fine. If you want to journal, that's totally fine. But it's the feeling that you want to
It's
feel
feeling
it.
it.
It's not
It's
just
feeling
like
it. Yeah.
exactly. So I'm just thinking of what am I grateful for today?
Yeah.
And I really just let that emotion fill me up.
Mhm.
And I don't know, right now I'm just I'm waking up happy. And then I'm just
Yeah.
grateful for having been, having waking up. So I think it's like a positive spiral. I am more happy. I am then, because then I can be so grateful that I'm always, tearing up like, oh my God, I have such a wonderful life. I love people so much. And everything. It's like, oh my God,
I
and my kids
literally
are so
say
wonderful. And
that.
my,
I say that every day. I love my life. I just love
yeah,
my life, and I think it's because you understand that everything that's happened in your life was to get you to this moment right here.
absolutely. Yeah,
And you really understand everything you've been through, even the very, sometimes it's very sad and dark things and bad
of course.
experiences that we have
Mm,
been through, but it is to keep building our capacity to keep loving, to keep coming back
mm.
to love.
It
So
is, yeah, it's like life is teaching you. It's more like, can you learn the lesson and then can you
yeah,
move on?
exactly.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about emotions as a superpower, because I think when you can master these emotions, right? Not just, feel them and run from them and, look at them and then hide, or, but really master it, master your emotions. What do you think that is preparing us for? How is that a superpower? And I want to say, especially for women, how is that a superpower?
Yeah, I think, I mean, since I started viewing emotions as messengers, my life has changed, because the emotions really are messengers. I mean, I wouldn't have even been able to see it before. It was just something bad that I didn't, there is nothing good with emotions, basically.
Yeah.
But now I have really, it is a messenger, and it is really teaching me, when am I aligned with myself? When am I authentic? When have I reached my heart? Because if I feel good, I am connected to my heart. If I don't feel good, I am not connected to my heart. I have gone somewhere else, And these emotions are just telling us, how do you feel now? And what do you need to change to be in alignment, to be
That's it.
your authentic self? So
That's
it's
it.
really like, it's not like these hard things that are gonna, mess with your life, but it's really like the messages showing you, nudging you, like, go this way, go this way, go this way, so that you can actually find your way to your heart, basically.
That is exactly right. And I totally agree with that. And I tell people, when you're feeling anxious, something's not aligning. If you're
Mm,
like clenched up and anxious, something is not aligning with what you
mm,
need to do right now. Maybe the situation is not in alignment with what you need, where you need to be. And even if you get goosebumps, is those are messengers. That's
absolutely. Oh, yeah.
saying something's happening, some you need to pay attention to this. And truly, it's your intuitive power. And I think as
Mm,
women, this is our intuitive power. This is our connection to the divine. And we have to be in tune. And it takes practice. Would you say it takes a lot of practice? Okay,
mm,
for me, this emotion means this, or that emotion means that. And it is
mm.
getting in alignment, like Maria said, with the divine. And we're either in alignment or we're out of alignment. That's it. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, sure. I mean, because having worked so long as a scientist, that's really like the male energy. I
Yeah.
have really practiced male energy my whole life. So just connecting to my divine feminine energy, that was a big thing for me. That is something that I had to work on. But I actually got a tip that I really love, and that is toss a coin. And not really to see what the what the coin says, but
Yeah.
if you feel a bit depressed about the result, then you know that was the wrong one. And if you feel happy about the result, then you're like, yes, okay, that's the right one. So then you can try that, because it's like the inner feeling, was it good, was it bad? Then you sort of know. So never mind what the coin show you, but it's just, like the emotion that goes with it. Then you actually can start practicing that intuition, and like, okay, this is what I really want, and go with it. And of course, it could be a bit scary in the beginning.
Oh,
Like,
definitely.
I mean, for me, it was really like, okay, I'm a scientist and now I'm a healer too. Okay, yeah, that's,
Yeah,
that's different. And it was a bit scary, just like coming out as a healer, like, okay, I'm a healer. Yeah. And what will people think? But it felt right within that I am a healer. I love this part. So
yes.
never mind what other people will say. But actually, there were really no bad comments at all. I haven't gotten one single bad comment about being a healer and a
Yeah.
scientist. So
Yeah.
I think maybe sometimes we are more afraid of what people will say than maybe what they actually will say.
Absolutely. I think on my journey, when I released what others would think, everything opened up. I mean, the
Yeah.
universe opened up and
Mm.
conspired for everything to just fall in place, because
Yeah.
then I was allowing spirit to guide me and not the
Yeah.
opinion of man or anyone else.
Exactly.
You mentioned the masculine and the feminine, and that's so important right now. And I love talking about that as well. Can you speak a little bit on the mind, which is very masculine, very left brain, very logical, and then the heart, which is feminine, which is intuitive, which is the right brain, right? So it's two different parts of the brain and how we're functioning, but we're to come into wholeness. And we use both sides of the brain. So it's okay to be a scientist and a healer. It's okay to collect data, but it's okay to trust my emotions and my feelings and go on that. Can you speak
Mm.
on that a little bit, on the pull and the tug of war?
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe we should first also mention that it has nothing to do with gender. Everyone has both feminine and masculine energy,
Yep.
regardless of the gender. So I think, I mean, really combining them, because the masculine energy being more doing, but then it's like, what are you going to do? If you can just sit and relax a little bit and connect to your inner self, then you will be guided to what you do, and then you use the masculine energy and do it, and make sure that things are happening. Because it could, of course, also be like, if you're only in the feminine energy, you just sit and you're just, getting everything, and you accept what it is, but
You still
there's not
need
really
action.
happening much.
Yeah, you still need
So
that
so it's
action.
really, yeah, exactly. So you really need to combine it, like sit there and just let things come through, let the intuition guide you, but then you put on the masculine energy and then you do it. So
Yeah.
it's not like one is bad and one is good, but it's really the combination. And maybe, I mean, maybe I was like this before, and now I'm more leveling it out so that it's more equal, that I can stay in my feminine energy, and I can and just allow things to happen and unfold for me, and then I can actually also start doing.
Yeah.
Um,
And I
but I
don't
think
think I think it was humanity as a whole body of humanity. We have been under a very patriarchal society.
mm,
It's been
yeah,
very masculine. It's war. It's very logical. It's all this stuff. And the feminine, and again, it's not about gender, it's about energy. It's all about energies. That energy has been suppressed. We're not supposed to listen to our heart. We're supposed to go with what our mind. Even though I feel this way, I shouldn't listen to that. I should go with, well, this is the logical thing to do. This is what is in front of me, and this is what I should do. Although in here it does not feel well. And
mm,
I am with you. I think it's a balance. I think
yeah,
we need both. I need to make
absolutely.
inspired action in order to accomplish my goals and to manifest the things. But I shouldn't have to do, chase, and then I'm just spinning my wheels.
Mm. Yeah, because then you really, yeah, you disconnect from your heart too, of course. Just doing. What should I be doing, and what do I
Yes.
want to do? Two different
Yes.
things. Because often, I mean, in society, like I said, we are taught to just do what we are supposed to do, what at least we think that other people think we should do. And I mean, most people are so caught up in thinking about themselves that they don't even care about other people. But it's like everyone is like, okay, what will they think, what will they think? But when you can just get rid of that, like, okay, it doesn't matter
Yes.
what other things, it doesn't matter what I'm supposed to be doing, that society thinks that I should be doing, but what should I do? Like, if I really connect to my heart, to my soul, what are the things that I love to do? What can I bring to this world? And I mean, I think that by doing that, we will create happy people. And
We
happy
will.
people, they do not go out and shoot their neighbors. They do not start wars. They are just loving and generous, and they could be smiling to strangers. And that way, we can actually start spreading the love in the world, instead of just having this, sharp elbows and just going forward, and never mind that other person, but we can actually show compassion to each other, and connect to everyone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that is in alignment with divine law. I
Yeah.
think that there's truly only one energy, and that is unconditional divine love. However, we have forgotten that energy. We have forgotten
Mm,
that within ourselves. Like you said earlier, we have abandoned that to protect
mm,
our hearts. But what we've done is recreated an unloving energy, environment, or life, and then it just keeps perpetuating
mm.
in that way.
Yeah, because it's like, I usually think, like, I have this image that everyone has this inner sun, a sun that is shining always,
Yeah.
always, always, always. But sometimes there are clouds in front of that, so we can't really see that sun shining. But everyone has their inner sun, so we just need to scatter the clouds, and boom, it will be there, and happiness will reign. I mean, that will be your new
Absolutely.
life, love and
Abs-
happiness, and kindness to other people
Absolutely.
also.
And I think I want people to know, like, it could be a lonely road, but it's okay. You will meet your tribe. I mean, I've connected with Maria. She's in a whole nother country. it's okay. You will connect with the people that you energetically and vibrationally are in alignment with. And it's okay. And even if you have people in your life that are not necessarily awakened to this information, save space for them too. Just drop a seed, drop a compassion, keep your heart open towards them, and you are actually being the energy that will awaken them as well. Well, that looks pretty good on her. She seems pretty joyful and happy. I
Yeah.
want some of that. I want some of what she's doing. And I think that's how we do it. We can't force it on people. We can't force our will. I think we just have to be that energy and just radiate it back out to the world.
Yeah. It's like my energetic teacher is saying, by healing yourself, you heal others, but you also heal the world. So
Yes.
that is so true, because if you are healing yourself, if you are radiating that joy, people will notice and you will affect them. Because even if you don't believe in energies, it's like, if you don't believe in healing, it's like go into a room and sometimes you can feel, oh my God, ooh, what's happening here? Or go into another room like, ooh, there is so much joy. So we can have this
Yeah,
vibe going on, but that's just energy.
it's
And
all
people will feel that joy radiating from you
yeah.
and that love radiating from you. So you will affect other people, even if they are not believers. Doesn't
Yes,
matter. They will be affected by your energies.
exactly. I have just a few more questions and then we'll wrap it up. So, at the time of this podcast, what would you say is the greatest matter of your heart right now on today?
I'm sorry, I don't really understand the question. How do you mean?
What would you say is the greatest matter of your heart? Like, is there anything on a heart level that you're concerned about? It could be about the world, about what's happening
Mm,
in the world. Um, what is that heart posture today?
yeah, well, I think I am really about, because I'm also one of my spiritual gifts is world healing. So I'm really about how can we spread this unconditional love to the world?
Mhm,
And I really think that is be the example and then show other people how they can open up their hearts. And by opening up the hearts, then we can just spread it to the next one, to the next one, to the next one. So we can have a more loving world, like everyone would be more loving, and we can end war and we can just get our frequency and vibration very high.
mhm. And what do you say to the people that says, well, life is not all about love, no, 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 no. People that are comfortable in the denser, heavier energies. What do you say about that? Do you believe there's a
Yeah.
balance?
Actually, I think that we are so conditioned to staying in that lower vibration that we are so used to not loving ourselves that we don't even sort of know what we are missing out on. Like we don't understand that there is something else out there. But basically, I mean, everyone will experience joy once in a while. Even if you're sad and depressed, every once in a while there will be joy. And what if we can have a life with a lot more joy in it? I mean, because the joy will basically come by itself with opening our heart, because it's one of the emotions that is attached to the heart chakra. And as I said, when I had this heart wall release, when my boss was stressed out and I wasn't, I also noticed then that I was sort of waking up in the morning just being happy, because it is like if you're open and if you're just opening even a little bit, it
Mm-hmm.
will have major benefits in your life. So it's not like you have to fully open your heart to feel any difference, because I heard once that Jesus was, having a totally open heart. But for me, it's more like it doesn't really matter that much how much you open it, but as long as you open it little bit and then little bit and little bit, because you will feel the difference.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
of course, it's like, yes, okay, but I don't know. My life is, whatever, whatever, whatever. Yeah, I know, I've been there. My
Yeah.
life was not worth living. I actually was thinking about ending it. Suicide was definitely an option for me, but then I decided I wanted to, there was a will of living. I wanted to live. So I know that feeling like, okay, life sucks, whatever, there is
Mhm.
nothing here for me. I definitely know that feeling. And even like when I was better, but maybe not, excellent, I was still like, okay, I have my moments, but, you know, life is whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it wasn't excellent, but now it's like, it's more like I have my moments when it's not good. Life is
Yeah.
generally good. And then I have moments where it's not good, where whatever. I mean, it's not like you're getting immune to feeling things like sadness or
Right.
whatever it is. Things happen and you will be affected by it, but then I'm boom, bouncing up again. So it's just like I'm so much faster bouncing up to happiness. Um, so it is definitely worth, even if it's just a tiny little bit, to open your heart.
And
Even if
getting,
you think that you are, incurable, this
yeah,
cannot be applied to you. That is just not the case. Everyone have their inner
yeah.
sun, and we just take a little bit of the
Have to
clouds
find
away,
it.
and life will change.
You have to pull back all the layers that life and programming and conditioning and thoughts have covered it. So you got to pull
Yeah,
back sometimes one by one. Sometimes it's a huge, like a bursting open at one time, but
absolutely.
sometimes it's just a layer by layer.
Yeah.
Maria, getting into that really dark space that you were in, like wanting to not be here, wanting to take your own
Mm.
life. How did you get out of that? Like, what was that one thing that said, okay, I can't, I gotta, what was the one thing that made you see the light, see a shimmer of hope?
Yeah, I was really, really contemplating suicide, and I was sort of even like trying out a little bit, like, okay, how should I be doing it? And all of a sudden, there was just like this, I want to live. I just had this feeling, strong feeling, I want to live.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that was some kind of divine interference, that I realized there
Yeah.
was more to life, that life wouldn't
Yeah.
stay like this, because I think there was hope.
Mm-hmm.
Hope that life would not stay like this. I would be able to change it, and I wanted to live, because yeah, there was more to life than what I was experiencing, even if I couldn't see it at that point of
Yeah.
time.
If you could pinpoint one thing for our listeners when you were in that space, that dark space, what was the reasoning for thinking and even planning, like you said, to commit suicide?
Yeah, I mean, I was basically thinking that I was the worst person on earth, including, dictators and mass murderers and whatever. It was more like feeling that I would be doing a service to the world by disappearing, that everyone on this earth would feel a lot better if I wasn't around. So those were the thoughts when it was as darkest, and then it was not pure darkness all the time, but it was, up and down a bit,
Yeah.
definitely. But when it was like pure darkness, that was just like, I will be doing a service to everyone. I have nothing to give to this world. There is no one that will, not benefit from me disappearing, from me ending my life. It's
Do you know where those thoughts came from? Do you believe they were your own thoughts? Do you believe it was a psychic attack? Where do you think those thoughts stem from?
mm, well, I think it was all those blocks that I had, because this was obviously before I had released all my emotions. There was just so much block. There was like no energy moving around in me, because everything was just so blocked. And then it's just getting so dark, basically.
Yeah. And I think that what you just said is the difference in how you feel in being connected to that divine, unconditional power and source, and then being totally blocked and disconnected.
Yeah. I mean, it's like now I can't really even understand how I can be have been in both sort of ends of that spectrum. It's just it's like I am such a different person today that I can't really connect with. How could I actually have felt that? I mean, I know, like, I understand, like, intellectually, that okay, that happened and I was there, but it was just so heavy emotions everywhere,
Yeah.
so disconnected, so lonely. I really felt like the most lonely person, like totally alone in the world, and
Mhm.
didn't know what to do. And yeah, but then just having
Wow.
that really strong feeling that I wanted to live. And from there
Yeah.
on, I have found my way into my heart
And that
and
definitely
into
sounds like
happiness.
yeah, that definitely sounds like a divine interjection of will, of
Yeah.
will to want to live, because that is important to have. But you were like on two, it's like two different sides of the spectrum, being lonely, a dark space, heavy, low vibrational energies, of guilt or shame or doubt or whatever it was, being and then going completely high to joy and bliss and unconditional love. And that's so
Mm.
important because we are on a spectrum of energy in motion, which is emotions. And how you feel will dictate how connected and in alignment you are with this energy that is greater
Mm.
than ourselves.
Yeah. And I also really believe that for me to be able to help other people, I sort of know what it is. I have been
Yes.
there myself, so I can really connect back to, okay, it was horrible, basically. And how can we do, because I've done that journey, how can we do that journey to your own heart, to open up to love and compassion and happiness, to
Yeah.
pure joy?
And what I know about healers is that the healer has to heal themselves and awaken to themselves in order to help others heal and awaken to them. You have to be
Yeah,
able to heal yourself. That's the biggest initiation of a healer. So,
absolutely.
yeah. All right. So, what book can you recommend to our listeners that helped you on your journey? It could be related to this, it doesn't have to be, but anything that you feel was, wow, this really, really helped me.
Yeah, I have a book that I really loved. It's called Breath, and it's written by James Nestor. And he was actually doing an experiment with the coach that I was training with. So they sort of plugged the nose. So they were only mouth breathing for, I don't know, remember how, was it for 14 days or something like that? And then they changed and they were sort of just nose breathing. And just the benefits of nose breathing and the breath in general. And he then goes on to a lot of different breath techniques, and it's both on a scientific level, sort of, and then he goes into more the spiritual parts of breath. So I found that book very, very inspiring. It was really connecting to the breath and how that is connecting to everything, because I think the breath is really a key to opening your heart. That you, if you have really bad breathing patterns, I think that is something that you can help uh, when you connect to your heart, so that either you connect first to your heart and that will help the breathing, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Because it's really connected. We have the vagus nerve going through our body, and that is connecting to the heart, and the breath is basically the master of the vagus nerve. So that will not only be the heart, but basically the whole body. All the organs are connected to the vagus nerve, and if we can just get that into, well, we get ourselves into basically rest and digest state
Yeah.
instead of fight and flight, then so much is happening in your life. You can just feel, because your stress will sort of just drop off, and fears and anxiety. So you will become more calm. You will become more open. I mean, the breath, I mean, the lungs, that is connected to the heart chakra. So of course, breath and vagus nerve and heart, that they are so connected, everything. So I
Yeah,
think that
it's
book
so
was
important.
very inspiring, and it's very easy to read and fun. So I think that book was a big thing for me, really reading it. I really love it.
Awesome. Thank you for that recommendation. Breath is so important. I mean, it's life force, energy. We're taking it
Absolutely.
in, and we
Mm.
don't realize how much we're not literally fully breathing and how
Yeah.
much we're not taking in enough.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, something that simple is really air in, air out. But in the
yes,
Western world, we sort of disconnect from breathing too. It's like
yeah,
our breathing pattern is just messed up a bit. We're just breathing up here, where we should connect down to our bellies and breathe.
yeah. Maria, how can our listeners reach you and how can you help them? What are some services you're offering? Healing is so important. I think the more we could heal individually, again, we are healing collectively. And I think healing cannot be expressed and talked about enough. And there's so many layers to it. It's so many layers to healing. So how can our listeners reach you and contact you?
Yeah. So first, I just wanted to say that I have been thinking a little bit about how I can provide even more value to your listeners. And I decided to do some discovery calls free of charge,
Awesome.
where people can connect with me, and then we will talk on their individual problems and how to sort of work their way into opening their hearts. So I was thinking I would do maybe 5 of these calls. So we can put up a calendar, and if there is an available spot, then just go ahead and book.
Awesome.
Um,
Awesome. Awesome.
Otherwise, I will, of course, I have a website. It's openallhearts.com. And I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. It's also Open All Hearts. And I do group healings, I do individual healings, and I also have a package where you can do like healings and coaching session combined. So those are things that I offer, and I also have this bigger 8-week course where you can learn how to love yourself and how to accept yourself.
Awesome. And I'm going to make sure I drop all those links in the notes on the podcast. Maria, is there anything else you just want to leave our listeners with? Is there anything else you want to share before we wrap it up? It's been such an amazing podcast. And I just love talking about this. So, because it opens my heart even more. I'm constantly looking for ways to stay in that loving vibration. And it's such a wonderful breath of fresh air when I can speak openly about the process and how amazing because it's a transformation. It's a true
Yeah,
transformation. You are not the same person at all.
exactly.
So, is there anything
Exactly.
you want to share before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I think it's just like, if your listeners now maybe are like, okay, I need to do something, but what? It could be overwhelming, of course, because now we have talked about a lot of different things. But if you really would just maybe a few minutes before going to bed, you will start connecting to your breath, and try to actually go down in your belly, and allow that to happen. Uh, you can start by breathing out a little bit longer than breathing in, because breathing out is connected to rest and digest. So just elongate the exhalation a little bit. Doesn't have to be very long, big breaths, but just a little bit longer exhalation. And then put your hands on your heart and just sort of try to connect there. That is a
Yeah.
really good exercise. And then put in a little bit of gratitude there, and you are on your way to rock and roll. So
Yeah,
that is a very simple tip, but it's really efficient.
it is.
And yeah, just to find that sun, to scatter the clouds around your inner sun, and feel that love. And it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be much, just tiny, tiny, tiny steps, and
Yep,
you will get there.
exactly. Yeah, just start thinking about love, listening to love music,
Yeah,
speaking the word love. All of that keeps you and starts to get you into that energy and that vibration of your heart. So, Maria, it's been a pleasure. It's been an amazing opportunity to connect as well. So, thank you so
absolutely.
much for coming on the podcast. And guys, connect with Maria if you kind of want to get started on the process. It's beautiful. I will tell you that you will have absolutely no regrets. Your life can only become more amazing, more happy, more joy, more peace, more love, more patience, more abundance, more prosperity. And the truth is, all of these things are actually fruit of the spirit. It's fruit of being in alignment with divine spirit, divine love. All right. So check this podcast out. All right. It's been a pleasure, Maria. This podcast is inspired, of course, by love, relationships, spirituality, justice, culture, personal growth, energy and vibrations, universal principles, health, education, masculine and feminine energies, music, and all things of the heart and soul. Our mission is to connect our hearts with our minds for perfect alignment. And we appreciate you guys, and we will catch you guys at the next episode. Take care. Thanks, Maria.
Thanks.